morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Premarket Info.
It was a big weekend in sports for the Tigers, but first we'll start talking about the markets. Apple trading below 650 this morning. We have Alcoa kicking off earnings season tomorrow night. We've got some key technical formations in the top S&P components. We will talk about that as well. And AT&T was a textbook dividend play last week. We'll break that down for you guys. Joel, what about the Tigers?
They're up 2-0 heading out to Oakland. Oakland seemed to be everyone's favorite to go on and win the World Series, but those boys from Motown held up yesterday. Even got me a little bit nervous during the game.
Nail biter there, especially when Benoit comes in. It's always interesting when Benoit and Valverde come in, but Benoit, they had to hit that one ball hard on him in game one, and they did get out of it, and they made the catch. But then, obviously, in game two, he blew it, and I was like, oh man, I hate Benoit. But anyways, Tigers come back on a wild pitch and a big clutch fly ball by Don Kelly.
Well, what about the business world, Dennis?
We better go and talk about the stocks, though, because not everybody's Tiger fans out there. Maybe we've got Oakland fans out there and they don't want to hear about it. Anyways, overall market here trading down this morning. We obviously were a little bit weaker there on Friday. We started to give back pretty much when Apple started to give back there on Friday. Apple started to roll over, and the overall market rolled over as well. And we have found some support kicking around this 1450 area. We have traded as low as 1448.50 overnight.
Yeah, we were kind of hanging up a few points until about 3 a.m. this morning. Someone got their selling shoes on with the European Open. Pretty much a steady decline from there. Did get through Friday's low. Have a little bit of a funky formation here. You have Thursday's intraday low at 48.75. Folks, we've mentioned this before. The intraday low, which I like to keep track of, just keeps track of the S&P low during the regular session hours from 9:30 until 4:15. I don't consider that as a good a number as the Globex low. So the Globex low from Thursday was 44 even. That's a big number for us on the downside. And coming back, Dennis, that 1455.50 area, that was a close from Friday. Thursday's close was a tick away from that. And remember a few weeks back when we got several closes right in that area as well?
Yeah, this whole 1455, we looked before we had that down move, we came back up. We definitely ran into resistance in the 1450s. Seems like that could happen here again. It's that whole everybody got kind of bullish after the jobs number. Friday morning after the jobs number, we took off, almost made a new high on the move, but couldn't quite get there, just to 1466. So now your technicians will look at this formation and say, well, we had a 1468 high back on the 14th, we just had a 1466. Is there a double top in place in the overall market? And then they'll go to Apple and they'll say, well, look at Apple, it's starting to break down. You've got this whole, look at this chart pattern just from the last month and a half on Apple there, Joel. You've got this whole left shoulder, the head up here, the right shoulder. So if you like technical formations, I'm not a huge fan of technical formations like that, but it does look like a head and shoulders to me on Apple.
We were looking at that 650 level, bounced off that midweek, came back down there again on Friday, just closed above it. Then looks like someone got up at 4 this morning and just started peppering bids on this. We have broken through the key level of 650.65. That was the 4-day low. Not a lot of volume. It just seemed like someone that had a short position just might have been in there. Just anybody puts a bid out, bing, hitting it, knocking it down a little bit. This is entering a very, very scary area here from 620 to 650. Be interesting to see if it can find some support here and get back above 650. If not, Apple could be going to 620 or even under 600.
Yeah, a few more worries in China over the weekend. They're still having some problems at the one factory there, so I think that might be concerns that they may, have more delays in some of the iPhone 5. So I think that's why the stock is trading down. But overall, the market's down 5, so it's kind of just down in sympathy. But the stock was weak on Friday. It wouldn't surprise me if we did see follow through here today. I'm scared of this Apple. I'm scared of this chart. I'm scared for the overall market too, just because of Apple. I think Apple continues to be your driver. We've been saying that, it seems like, for the last year, but it's true. As Apple goes, the market goes. And if Apple really starts to break down here, I can't see how the broad market holds up without Apple. But Google, if you want to take your Google Apple pair traders, that stock just continues to rise. It has completely obviously ignored Apple, doing its own thing now. The spread is now on Google 115 points. If we go back 3 weeks ago, these two stocks were the exact same price, both trading around the 680 area. Google has tacked on 90 points since then, and Apple's lost 25 points.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stand in the way of the Goog machine here. 774.38 was the high. Did peel back a little bit to settle at 767.65. Looking at the pre-market activity, haven't quite back gotten up there. Still, we had talked about that 750 level as a major area of support. $14 away from there. I think if you're still trying to ride Goog out on the long side here, you have to look at that level. And then also Friday's high at 774.38.
One we haven't talked about for a while, Netflix, and what a week it had. It was trading down at $55 at the beginning of the week. This thing's ticking over $70 this morning, 70.15. Morgan Stanley jumping on the bandwagon this morning, giving it an upgrade. I mean, this is your classic short squeeze here. Here's a stock that was kind of, obviously has been just terrible for the last year, but had been trading near the lows in September, made a nice little bottom kind of put in, and then all of a sudden just started taking off 3 days ago and really hasn't looked back.
Yeah, trading in the pre-market, we are getting up over this $70 level. Friday's high, we're quite a ways above that. 68.20 would be your first support level. But you're getting into this vacuum here. We had a gap down from 77.81 to 66.80. Now we're gapping back into it. It's sure going to run into resistance in that area. Keeping an eye, pre-market high, we just keep making a new high at 70.40, so we'll have to pay close attention to see how high they can jack this up on the upgrade. But really looking at the chart, you have this whole vacuum area up to 77.81. Which would be a stretch to say it's going to get there today.
Well, I don't think it's going to get there today, but we always say when a stock has a gap in the chart like that, it can move through that area with relative ease because there's just not a lot of reference points. There's not a lot of traders with positions on at these prices, so your technical traders don't have prices really to extract levels from, which makes it move through there a little bit easier as people are hesitant to put limit orders out there when there's not a lot of reference points. Alcoa kicks off earnings season. I know you always hate it when I say that, but that's what they say on CNBC, so we'll take a plug off them. Alcoa kicks off earnings season tomorrow night.
And when are they getting kicked out of the Dow?
You hate that. You had the hate on for Alcoa. It's held up pretty good in the last year. It hasn't really went down.
It hasn't gone up either. I don't know if anybody is still covering this stock on the street. Obviously, major resistance here up at the 937 and 941 area. Those are some highs that we had back at September 20th and 21st. Only got up to 934 on Friday. A little bit of a sell-off here. Keeping an eye on 903, which we've actually traded through. That's Friday's low. If not, looks like this thing surely wants to sneak under the $9 level. Have major support between 872 and 886 there. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lows in that area. So let's just call major support at 880 for Alcoa.
I want to talk about AT&T here because this was your classic dividend play. We were talking about this on Wednesday there. It went ex-dividend on Friday, and the stock will often run up into the ex-dividend day. Verizon pretty much did the same thing. They both went ex-dividend on
Explain
Friday.
why, Dennis. Explain why.
Basically, you've got dividend capture players that anticipate other dividend capture players coming in before the dividend, and they basically drive the price higher. So here we were back on Wednesday, trading around 37.65, and then they started coming in on Wednesday, and they followed through on Thursday. The stock and trades up over to 38.30, so it gets a nice little run up, and then all of a sudden goes ex-dividend on Friday. It opened really high, so actually I got a short off up there too, which was a nice trade for me. Opened up basically at the high of the day and then just killed off. Why does it sell off? Because you have all the people that took the dividend home that want to sell it at the open or sell it after the open that just were in the play just to capture the dividend, and then they sell it off. And then you have fundamental players that come in and basically if they were looking at if you're an institution and you're looking, well, I want to get out of the AT&T and I've been in it for years, why not hold it through the next dividend? So then after, okay, well now we got the last dividend, now maybe we come in and sell it. So not saying that every institution's coming and dumping at every dividend, but if you were one or two, there's hundreds of institutions out there. If you were thinking about dumping AT&T, why not hold it through the next dividend? So that's why you often see these sell-offs after the dividend, because anybody that's held the stock for a while just sells it off after the dividend, because why would you sell it before?
Yeah, and along those lines, in this scrawny interest rate environment where short-term money, you really can't get anything on. Here's an opportunity to have a nice appreciation in your capital overnight, just based on the dividend. Now, if you bought the high of the day on Thursday, it might not work out as well. But if you're accumulating the stock 1, 2, 3 days in advance, looking for that run up, and then either exiting the stock on the open the next day, for example, on AT&T, you basically had 44 cents to work with before you were down on your stock position. So It's basically a hunt for yield. It's interesting now. It closed up a little bit. Now we're sitting on some major support here. I don't adjust my charts for the dividends. I think the numbers are still the numbers. 37.60 is huge. Takes that out, I think we could go back and trade down in the $37 area. And then also I think resistance is going to move down to 38 as people that didn't get out, the short-term players, are waiting another day, will be stacking their orders at 38 in order to exit.
ExxonMobil did take out that 92.5 level that we had been talking about on Friday, got all the way up, where to? The next whole number, 93. These things are always predictable. They always run into trouble at the whole numbers. It did again. I actually did get a short off up there, but the scalper blood in me, I still can't seem to shake that out. I only made a dime off it, so you can laugh at me because the thing ended up selling off 60, 70 cents afterwards. I basically sold the high, so would have been a good one if I would have held on, but I still can't shake that scalper blood.
Yeah, that stock has been holding in there tough. It took several times to get through that 92.50. Did get through there, ran into some sellers at 93. Interestingly, if you're out for buying something this morning, this stock is only off 12 cents off yesterday's low of Friday's low at 92.23. That's supplemented by Thursday's low at 91.91. So you have good support here in the $92 area. But the real major level, I'm not looking for this thing to break down until you cut through 90, 93 or the 91 area. You had several lows in that vicinity. And since we're talking about that, how about this CVX chart? I mean, man, this thing is just hanging on here. Just hanging between 116 and 118 and change.
Yeah.
Can't get, every time it gets into that 118 handle, yeah, I mean, it's never closed above there. So 118.
Stocks.com.
Yeah, look at that. And look at this under 116. I know you have that other low at 115.50, but when a thin stock like this tries to slide, you try and sell it, when on a downdraft, I think that 115.50 is just gonna go by like a fan.
Yeah, the stock is just running into sellers. There's some institution that had been dumping ExxonMobil at 92.5, and it may even be the same institution been dumping CVX at in the 118 handle, because every time CVX gets up over 118, it sells back off. Did the same thing again on Friday. So if you're selling CVX off of that, you made out okay again because it's down over $1 from where it was on Friday. It's just the same thing. It gets up in the 118s, it sells off. We've got a couple other ones I just want to highlight here. IBM, you were talking about it to me just before we started the show here this morning. This whole 211 area has been, or 212 area has basically potentially put in a double top. You had 211.47, which or 211.75, which was the high back on the first, and then you put in another high 211.79 on Friday. You were actually talking to me about that, Denny. You were saying it to me intraday. Maybe I don't know if you tweeted it out or not, but you said it to me, and I actually did get a short off on there, so I should thank you for that at the 211.70 area. You think IBM this double top's going to hold?
Boy, this stock just quietly just marched up to all-time highs. I mean, it did. It just was a big leader on the rally. Really sold off a little bit when everyone was talking about Hewlett Packard, but IBM is definitely, distanced itself from just being a box maker. Looking at it from a technical perspective, you do have the all-time high there, so you have to really regard that 212 area major, major resistance. We are breaking down here through Friday's low, which was 210.06. So if you're going to use a swing number there, 210 would be a good level. But I don't see any major support under 210 until the double bottom from Tuesday and Thursday at 208.50 and 208.53. On a rebound, folks, keep an eye on 210.50. Wild stock like this had three closes between 210.39 and 210.59. You had another close 2 previous days before that at 210.47. So 210.50 is going to be good resistance in IBM this morning.
Disney getting a downgrade this morning is trading down a little bit on that, probably with the overall market more than anything. Downgrade at Kara, so not a lot of influence there, but it is a downgrade. Not a lot of stock trade, 650 shares, but it's ticking down to 52.65.
Yeah, and that is 11 cents below Friday's low, so keep an eye on that 52.76 level. Below that, I see some minor support at 52.39, but no major support until you get to the 51.60 area. I'm not sure how big of a stick Karas plays in this stock, but Disney looks like it's good to go, nor still until we break and close below 52.
Well, overall thoughts here on the market, like I've said, I still think you got to keep an eye on Apple overall. If you're trading anything, keep an eye on Apple because if that starts to roll over, I can't see the overall broad market holding up. But we are just kind of consolidating here right around this 1450 area.
Yeah, it's been quiet, really quiet range. Got that pop on Friday near after the unenjoyment number popped up. The 1460 handles offering major resistance. I guess you just can't get too excited a breakdown until we at least take out that Globex low, 1448.50. See another stopping point at 1444, but under 1444, I think that there's some good air on this underneath to trade a little vacuum, perhaps down to 1435.50.
That's our show for today, folks, and we'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Have a good trading day.